The air in the Olympic Stadium was not just electric. It was heavy with the collective respiration of 50,000 souls, a rhythmic pulsing of light sticks that painted the darkness in a sea of shifting purple hues. Everything was proceeding according to the meticulously choreographed chaos that defines a BTS world tour, a precision-engineered spectacle of sound and light that usually leaves no room for the unplanned or the raw. But then, in a moment that will be etched into the annals of pop culture history forever, the music didn't just fade. It felt like the world itself stopped spinning when Kim Taehyung, known to the world as V, suddenly broke formation during the bridge of Microcosmos. The sheer audacity of the silence that followed was deafening, a vacuum created by the sudden absence of a superstar's voice, leaving fans gasping in a state of bewildered shock as they watched the impossible unfold before their very eyes. Have you ever witnessed the exact microsecond a global icon sheds their celestial skin to reveal the trembling heart of a sun? While the internet is currently exploding with fragmented clips and grainy live streams, none of them truly capture the visceral heart-stopping tension of the moment V's eyes locked onto a single point in the VIP section, causing him to abandon the climax of the show. It wasn't just a pause. It was a defection from the script of superstardom that sent security teams into a visible frenzy and left his fellow members frozen in a tableau of confusion. Rumors began to ripple through the stands like wildfire. Was it a medical emergency, a breakdown, or something far more scandalous? As Taehyung bypassed the pyrotechnics and headed straight for the edge of the towering stage, his face a mask of such intense, raw emotion that it seemed to vibrate with an unspoken plea. What could possibly be so urgent that it justifies walking away from a multi-million-dollar production in the middle of a live broadcast to millions of homes worldwide? The answer didn't come in the form of a PR statement or a scripted interlude, but in the sight of the world's most handsome man leaping from a height that made the front row scream, ignoring the frantic reach of his bodyguards to collide with an elderly woman standing trembling in the shadows. As the cameras zoomed in, capturing the wet streak of tears carving paths through his stage makeup, the collective realization hit the stadium like a physical blow. Taehyung wasn't just performing, he was finally coming home. This wasn't just a hug, it was a seismic shift in the celebrity fan dynamic, a controversial breaking of the idol barrier that has left industry critics debating whether this was an act of pure love or a dangerous breach of professional protocol that could change the face of K-pop forever. The scene was nothing short of cinematic, yet it possessed an unpolished grit that no director could ever replicate. Taehyung's mother, who has largely remained a figure of mystery and quiet support behind the scenes, was visibly overcome, her hands shaking as she gripped her son's glitter-encrusted stage jacket. For a performer who is often lauded for his CV visuals, impeccable, doll-like, and almost too perfect to be human, the sight of him sobbing into his mother's shoulder was a jarring, beautiful disruption. He didn't care about the cameras. He didn't care about the choreography he was missing. He didn't care that the other 6 members were forced to improvise a vocal harmony to cover the gaping hole in the arrangement. In that moment, the V of BTS was dead, and Kim Taehyung, the boy from Daegu who used to dream of being a farmer, was the only person left on that field. The controversy began to brew almost instantly on social media platforms. While the majority of the ARMY fandom was moved to tears, a vocal minority of industry purists and saying analysts began questioning the safety implications of such an erratic move. How did a performer manage to bypass the rigorous safety barriers of a stadium stage? Why was the security detail so slow to react? More importantly, some critics argued that by bringing his private family life so explosively into the public eye, Taehyung had invited a level of scrutiny that his mother never asked for. However, these clinical debates were quickly drowned out by the sheer emotional weight of the event. To see a man who is worshipped as a god by millions return to the status of a child seeking comfort was a reminder of the heavy price of fame, a price Taehyung seemed willing to stop paying, if only for 5 minutes of a concert. The atmosphere inside the stadium shifted from a high-energy pop rave to something resembling a cathedral. The fans in the immediate vicinity of the embrace were not screaming, they were weeping in a respectful, stunned silence. It was a rare moment of genuine human connection in an industry often criticized for being manufactured. Taehyung whispered something into his mother's ear, a private message lost to the wind and the muffled microphones, before pulling back to kiss her forehead with a reverence that felt like a holy ritual. The raw vulnerability on display was a calculated risk that paid off in dividends of loyalty from his fans, But it also raised uncomfortable questions about the mental health and emotional exhaustion of idols who spend years away from their families to maintain the illusion of being everyone's boyfriend. As Taehyung eventually climbed back onto the stage, aided by a stunned but supportive Jimin and Jungkook, his eyes were red and his voice was thick with a rasp that hadn't been there before. He didn't apologize. He didn't offer a scripted explanation. He simply looked at the crowd, then back at the woman in the VIP section, and finished the song with a level of vocal power that felt like a rebirth. This event has sent shockwaves through HYB's headquarters, with insiders suggesting that the unplanned moment has prompted an emergency review of concert safety and artist spontaneity protocols. Yet, for the millions watching, it remains the miracle in Seoul. The night the world's biggest star reminded us that no matter how high you fly, the ground is where the heart is. Is this the start of a new era where idols refuse to be robots? Or was this a one-time explosion of a son's longing that we were never meant to see? One thing is certain. The K-pop industry will never look at a stage barrier the same way again. The shockwaves from this unprecedented breach of the celebrity-audience divide are still vibrating through the global media landscape, sparking a fierce debate that transcends the boundaries of music journalism. Was this a genuine, unscripted explosion of filial piety? Or have we reached a new hyper-realistic era of performance art, where even the most sacred family bonds are utilized to cement fan loyalty? While the emotional resonance of the hug is undeniable, industry insiders are whispering about the frantic backstage scramble where producers were reportedly screaming into headsets, unsure of whether to cut the live feed or lean into the viral goldmine unfolding in real time. This moment didn't just break the internet. It shattered the invisible glass wall that keeps the idol industry functioning, forcing every observer to confront the uncomfortable reality that beneath the sequins and the stadium lights lies a person starving for a simple, private touch that the rest of the world takes for granted. Could this single act of defiance against the rigid structure of K-pop choreography be the catalyst for a total industry revolution? There are already rumblings among top-tier entertainment agencies that Taehyung's leap of faith has created a logistical nightmare for future world tours, with insurance companies and venue security teams demanding stricter, no-contact clauses in artist contracts to prevent similar spontaneous descents. Yet, the public backlash against such clinical corporate restrictions is mounting, as fans argue that the humanity displayed by V is exactly what makes BTS a global phenomenon, rather than just another pop group. The tension between the artist's need for autonomy and the corporation's need for control has never been more visible, and the image of Taehyung's tear-stained face is now the unofficial banner for a movement demanding that idols be treated as human beings first and assets second. Is it possible that we are witnessing the beginning of the end for the perfect idol mythos, or was this merely a beautiful anomaly in a system that will quickly move to suppress such raw displays of emotion? The sheer scale of the reaction, from trending topics in over 100 countries to deep-dive psychological analyses on morning talk shows, suggests that society was waiting for a crack in the porcelain veneer of superstardom. Critics who once dismissed K-pop as a factory-produced genre are being forced to eat their words as they analyze the profound, almost primal nature of the mother-son reunion that took priority over a global broadcast. This wasn't just a highlight of a concert. It was a cultural reset that poses a terrifying question to every entertainment executive on the planet. What happens when the stars we've created realize that their greatest power isn't their voice or their dance moves, but their refusal to follow the script? The financial implications of this 5-minute detour are staggering, with stock market analysts noting a peculiar fluctuation in entertainment shares as investors weigh the risks of unpredictable talent against the massive surge in brand sentiment.